The internet's full of all kinds of stories about narcissists and how much they lie and how much they gaslight. But what's missing in the conversation is why they do it. You see, I think that in order for us to understand how to stop doing it, we need to first understand why it happens to begin with. So, in this video, I'm going to go over my story as a recovering narcissist about how I was able to start becoming more honest and some useful tips and tricks to help the narcissist either in your life or you yourself, if you are the narcissist, stop lying. So let's dive right in. First, I want to say this video has landed at the most poetic, ironic, whatever you want to say, timing in my life because just recently I broke trust with my partner, Kira. Um, I'll step back and give a little bit of context. So, at the beginning of the year, Kira and I decided that to improve our relationship, I wanted to stop looking at pornography. And that ended up being kind of a difficult thing to do because I felt so much shame around it. I have a ton of sexual shame, which is probably why the problem exists to begin with. And I would lie and keep it from her. And so we've been on this journey of me learning to tell her, and it ends up creating a pretty big trust fracture. We heal from it, and then after a little while, I would mess up, but the mess up would be better, and I would tell her sooner, and we've been getting better and better and better. Up until now, it's been months until I've had any sort of mistake. And what ended up happening today is I came across a bunch of nudes from an ex, and I thought that I didn't have them anymore, but I did. And I sat there for a minute staring at the folder and deciding if I should click it or if I shouldn't. And ultimately I clicked it, and I was there for like 5 or 10 seconds. I mean, it was like, and I like got off. And I like stopped and was like, whew, shit. What do I do? On one side, it kind of landed in my lap, and I don't think that it means anything that I, um, you know, have anything toward that ex, and am I just frustrating her by telling her, and am I just going to make things worse? But on the other side, we also have this agreement, and you know, should I tell her or should I not? Is basically what's going through my mind. Now, this is a great story to kind of highlight this whole issue, and I'll pause on telling you the ending to back up a minute. I, all through my business career, was known as a very, very honest person. Any of my employees, anyone I've done business deals with, would look at me and look over at me and be like, Jordan, he's a good dude. We can trust. If he says something, it's going to happen. I've worked really hard to build that reputation. But when it comes to my romantic relationships, I have not been that way, to be honest. So if you just look at that right there, why is it that somebody can be extremely honest in one part of their life and a very big liar in the other part of their life? This is the crux of this video. It all comes down to shame. At the end of the day, if there is no shame, then there's no need to lie. That right there comes down to why narcissism exists to begin with. You see, narcissism is there because at some point there was a child who didn't get the attention, love that they needed. They experienced abuse or neglect. And because their needs were not met, they created this belief that they were inherently worthless, and they had a lot of shame around their needs. And so there's this really fragile heart that has shame and a sense of worthlessness there. That's at the heart of every single narcissist. So lying is a way to keep that heart from being touched. And the unfortunate part for the narcissist is that they even lie to themselves. And I actually posed this question in a group of people who are struggling with narcissism. He said, tell me about your lying. And what was interesting is that most people lied when it came to their shame. When it came to something that they were aware of, they were so scared to let the world see. Again, it's that really, really sensitive, childlike piece, that wounded heart. That's where they found that they were liars. And the, I asked also the question, do narcissists gaslight other people purposefully, or is it actually they're just extending their own self deception? Meaning, I've deceived myself as to a certain situation, and I'm really just extending that deception to somebody else. It starts to get blurry at this point, and I don't think that the answer really matters. And the only reason I pose it is to help you understand what it's like inside of a narcissist mind. I think that so much rhetoric out there is really quite useless to us, to say that there's this horned narcissist who's out there plotting how to lie and steal and manipulate. I think what's more common is that there's a wounded child that has even lied to himself, that cannot face his own weaknesses and cannot face his own problems because there's so much deeply rooted shame there. At least that was my experience. I hid it from myself, and I would, if anyone even got close to something I was hiding from myself, I'd deflect, maybe get angry or lie. So I think understanding that as a core model, we can make more sense of how to solve this problem. And I guess that takes me to how I've been able to find improvements in this area. So I kind of combined this with helpful tips. So the first step, I believe, is to recognize that there's a problem. Recognize that in reality, you lie. And that can be a really spooky, weird experience, honestly, for the narcissist. It's like when you write it down on paper, you're like, yeah, I did lie. I did lie. Well, like you feel like you're a crazy person but somehow I convinced myself I didn't. Fuck, you know? And so there needs to be a recognition of the issue to begin with. Second, we want to create a safe place to be honest. This can be really, really hard because it hurts to be lied to. In my first relationship, anytime that I came forward to something or came to her with something, it was really, really hard for her. She kind of flew off the handlebars. And I think somewhere in her brain, she thought the more angry I can get, the more likely he is to change. But that's really not the case. Putting out an ultimatum of if you lie one more time, I'm out of here, is a surefire way to be lied to again. We actually have to do the opposite. We have to try and create a safe space for this person, which can be extremely difficult for the person who is close to the narcissist, because you're the one who gets injured in these moments. And I don't think that you need to love on them and kiss them and hug them, but try not to cause a shame spiral, which will already probably be prevalent in that person if they're coming to you and being honest. But the goal is to create a safe place. Now, that might not be possible. Now I'm speaking to the narcissist. If and you have to be okay with that. They have to be allowed to fly off the handlebars every so often. If you want to heal with this person, I do think it's important to have a conversation that says, hey, I'm realizing that I'm a liar. I need 6, 12 months, whatever it is, of your support so that I can stop doing this. I am probably going to mess up. And I just need the promise that you're going to stick around so that I can use this time to practice and to be honest. You can make your own version of that, but try your best to set those expectations. The third piece is to work through the deep-rooted shame that got you there to begin with. Because, again, people only lie in the areas that they feel the most shame. So if you can work with the shame and if you can work with the worthlessness, then you have no reason to lie. And that in itself is a really big subject, and I hope to make a video about that at some point. And I have some videos that I've covered some of that for. that in itself is a really large topic. And I've got some videos that I would like to share with you about those. And I'll link them here somewhere. But at the heart of it, if we can get rid of the worthlessness and the shame, we can make a lot of progress. The last step is to work through those hiccups, as they're definitely going to come, and to be continually improving. What I mean by that is you're not just going to stop lying overnight. Lying right now is a very deep, deep habit. And even lying to yourself is a very, very deep, deep habit. So it's hard to unravel something that you're at least partly unaware of. And I guess what I say there is to just have patience with yourself, is to just, in those moments where you do mess up, have compassion for yourself. And that's actually how I think one of the best ways for us to rebuild that self-worth and to get rid of the shame is that when you fuck up, you say, you know what? I messed up. I'm just a human. I'm not worthless. I'm getting better. I'm doing this for myself, and I'm just going to keep moving down and getting better and better and better. And that's the energy that you have to have, especially in the moments that you do mess up. This is, again, most applicable to me because I'm like living this right now where, and I'll get back to my story now, actually. I ended up telling her the truth. Now, not without a lot of kicking and screaming within my mind, or a lot of attempts at self-deception, to be honest. The idea of being that vulnerable and saying, I fucked up in the stupidest way. We have been so good for so many months. We are like in heaven right now in a relationship. And I fucked it up with an impulsive, stupid decision. I'm sorry. God, I have to just lean into it's okay to be imperfect. And it was honestly, I just want to say it's not without so much attempts at self-deception. My mind was really convinced that I'd be okay if I just didn't tell her this time, and it just wasn't worth it. And this doesn't really, need to be shared. But I think ultimately what I realized is what I want for myself is to be more honest in my loving relationship. And that's because I also want love to flourish. And really, lack of trust strips away love every single time. It's like love cannot flow between hearts if there's not a conduit of trust between them two. And I was really glad that I made the decision. And afterwards, I told her. She responded pretty well. She honestly was kind of neutral. She was sad. She cried. I and I spiraled a little bit, to be honest. She had to run off pretty soon after to go do some errands, and I was home alone, and just like I started hyperventilating and was really struggling. But that's like a part of the game, you know? Like, lying is no different than taking an opiate to avoid emotional pain or drinking alcohol to run from your problems. It's really no different. And I don't do either of those things. And I want to hold myself to the same standard when it comes to lying. It's like, this is the pain that I have to go through to build the life that I want. I've already been down the path of having a destroyed relationship, and now my kids have to go between households because I couldn't fucking figure it out. And I want so much better for my life now. And honestly, this is the price that has to be paid. So I guess I want to say that to say, like, it's not all flowers and roses and sunshine and shits and giggles. Like, it's hard. This is a really fucking hard path. There's a reason that my mind has worked so hard to lie to myself and to lie to everyone around me and to create at such risk. It's because it hurts in there. It's extremely painful. But I was able to tell her, and I had a little bit of a spiral, but then she came into my office a few hours later and was just hugged me, and I like sobbed. I'm like, so sorry, I fucked up, and she just held me and was like, it's okay. I know you're working super hard, and no one ever got better by having someone be mad at them. And I think that what this whole discussion of narcissism and this problem lacks is love, both on the side of the narcissist and on the side of those that he hurts. So I hope this was helpful to somebody. And if you've got questions, feel free to leave comments. If you want me to go deeper on anything. And I do have a request for you. I'd love it if you could please subscribe to the channel. It's a brand new channel, and getting your help via subscriptions really gives me the motivation to get up here and share some pretty vulnerable stuff. So I hope this is helpful. Really, my heart goes out to everyone and anyone who's on this journey, and I promise you it gets better.